Magic reveals itself to those who remember where to look for it. This is Magic Hour, and I'm your host, Taylor Paige. Welcome to Magic Hour, everyone. I am your host, Taylor Paige.
Hello, everyone. I'm Claire, your producer. Thank you so much for joining us.
Claire, how is the Scorpio full moon treating you today?
She's here, isn't she?
Yeah, she's feisty, she's deep, and like I was saying before we got on, every time we're like, I'm healed, there's always a deeper layer, isn't there?
Absolutely. I'm definitely feeling that. And, just trying to move with what's coming up and see it for the opportunity of healing, like you said. It's like a lot of deep emotional stuff, but I think instead of getting bogged down by it, it can be nice to see it as just an opportunity of what to look at that's being called up to need some extra attention and TLC and love.
Absolutely. And it's like the deep stuff, the emotional stuff, the difficult stuff, it never goes away. That's part of the human experience. But our response to it and how it grows and evolves and becomes more powerful or more self-aware over time is the true yardstick of our spiritual awareness. And I feel like from what I know about you and from what I'm going through personally and what we've talked about a little, I think we're both showing a lot of growth right now in how we're responding to different personal things. That's really powerful. And I feel like that's part of what we're doing here on Earth is to learn these tools.
Yeah, thank you. And absolutely, I think, seeing how a difficult situation can help you as you move through it and after you move through it, step more fully into your power and more fully into the alignment of the self that you feel you're here to be. It's like actually kind of a beautiful gift, even though it can be difficult in the moment. It's like a gift leading us to an even more beautiful, brilliant version of self.
So true. And it's so common for us to think we do grow so much through pain and through painful circumstances that push us out of comfort zones or have us face difficult realities. But in that, we also grow through so much love, self-love, loving ourselves enough to move forward and give ourselves what we need and what we deserve. And so the duality of being a human is intense, and the Scorpio moon full moon definitely highlights that. In the spirit of the magical, mystical Scorpio full moon, which it won't be when this comes out, but that's the time we're recording under, we have a really special guest today, Mia Magik, who is a dream guest for the pod. She is a powerful witchy woman. I'm so excited to talk to her. Mia Magik is not just a witch. She is a modern ambassador for ancient magic and earth-based spirituality, transforming the way we interact with our reality. Her Academy of Magical Artistry and enchanting retreats, akin to real-life Hogwarts, offer profound experiences of divine feminine healing and personal transfiguration. With a background in yoga, meditation, and a multitude of spiritual traditions, Mia has empowered thousands to reclaim their sovereignty and live their most magical life. Her newest book, IntuWitchin, invites us on a journey of spiritual awakening and collective healing, embodying her mission to liberate and inspire through the wisdom of the witch. Wise, wild, and free. Mia's magic extends beyond personal transformation, also aiming to purify patriarchal wounds and activate multi-dimensional gifts, guiding us to a reality where fantasy and magic are acknowledged as everyone's birthright. We hope you enjoy. Hello, everyone. I am so excited to have the ethereal, the magical, the queenly Mia Magik here on Magic Hour today. The podcast is actually named after her. Just kidding. Magic Hour, And Mia, we like to ask everyone, what is your big three? That is the first question we like to ask our guests.
My sun is Gemini, my moon is Scorpio, and my rising sign is Taurus.
Love it. And that makes so much sense. Your connection to the land and the earth, which I want to speak about with you. I have so many questions. And your Scorpio moon is constantly in a process of leading people through the underworld, change, transformation, magic. And then Gemini is the speaker, the teacher, the writer, and it all fuses in such an authentic and unique way. And when I started Magic Hour, you were one of the people at the top of my list to bring on as a guest because you are truly living such a magical life. And as I like to say, life is too short not to be magical.
Hallelujah. Preach,
yes.
girl.
Yes. And so I like to also ask every guest, how does your intuition show up for you?
You know, I have a very varied relationship depending on where I am and what I'm going through to the way that, I like to call it intuition, to the way that my intuition communicates. I have such a deep relationship to the divine in her feminine form as the goddess. And so I hear beautiful messages from the earth, especially when I'm in nature and I'm quiet. I get very clear communication, guidance for rituals, information. One of my gifts is clairsentience. So when I'm working with students or other people, I will often feel physically in my body something that if I bring up to them, they're like, oh, I was feeling that and I don't know what it is. And then we dive into it and work through whatever the subconscious root of that sensation or active piece of calling for attention is. But my gift really is as a healer. And so when I am in the space of supporting people in their subconscious reprogramming, rewiring, that's what I spent the entire morning doing today in groups and one-on-one, there is just a transmission and a channel that is open for me like a hollow bone, and I feel the spirit or the higher self or the soul of whoever the person is that I'm working with telling me exactly what to say to them, guiding me through their subconscious as if I have a roadmap to where their healing needs to go. And so my intuition is very varied. It's sort of like those big three signs. It comes in a myriad of ways, and nature is definitely the place where I get to go to be quietest to hear her. But as a Gemini, it is like sometimes it's just immediately like right there in the mind, and then in the scorpionic frequency, it's like down in the womb and in the shadow and in the muck and the pain that the lotus blooms. So just depends on the moment.
I love that. And you have a connection to so many different elemental frequencies in your big three that it makes sense that it would be varied. And it sounds like your clairsentience is also such a special clair that connects you to the earth, the energy of the location you're in, your clients. And then it sounds like claircognizance as well. Just this knowing, these downloads, you just flash into knowing. And as you go on this path, like you have, of living in your magic, connecting to your intuition, I love that. Your intuition starts to develop and grow and come online in different ways. So it might have just started as clairsentience and claircognizance, but it will keep developing and growing. And Absolutely. I love that so much.
Yeah.
And I always say that with intuition, when we follow our joy, it raises our frequency to meet our guides and get clearer messages. And so for you, being in nature is that pure, joyful Taurus rising expression. And it just opens your channel even more and attunes you to the energy of the earth and the goddess. And I just think that's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, because you are someone who is publicly a witch, as am I. And I find that so beautiful and inspired. And I'm wondering what your history with the witch wound has been. If you ever had to overcome an element of fear or feeling like you should hide or play small or not share your spiritual gifts, and what was your path to unashamedly wearing a witch's hat wherever you go?
It was long. I'm not much of a sprinter. Some people are like, oh, I had a Kundalini awakening and all of a sudden I was alive and awake and like that was the whole journey, like, no, I've been on a marathon or a triathlon, like an Ironman, So, the big thing for me, I was very magical as a little girl. I really loved magic, and I was met with everyone around me thinking that magic was stupid or for babies or like not real, or I was a loser. And that was really my experience of what other people believed, what they thought that I should believe. And so I like the form of this question that's different than just the particular journey. So I'm going to kind of stick with the witch wound itself. So for me, the witch wound showed up a lot. I read this story about my future in 6th grade. I just shifted. I went to like a very hippie private school with like an imagination loft, and we like planted trees together and went on camping trips, you know. And then I went to public school, and all of a sudden it was standardized tests and cliques and bullying, and it was a totally different experience that was absolutely horrific for my super hippie, like free spirited mind and way of processing information as well. And so I read this story about my future. And I was going to have this big tiger foundation and be like saving the planet and all the big cats. And I was going to be like just this back then, you know, the way to be on a stage and speaking to people was as a speaker or as a singer. And so I didn't know that you could like be a speaker. I was like, okay, I have to be a singer. You know, I'm not like a great singer. I like to sing, but it's not like really my thing, you know? And so I was like, okay, I'm going to be this big singer with this cool tiger foundation and save the world and inspire people. And it's going to be so amazing. And I read that story in my 6th grade Right Night, as it was called. And everybody else read stories about like fiction or whatever. And when I read that story aloud to everyone that obviously I'd gotten an A on from the teacher, it resulted in abject torment. And everyone was like, who the fuck do you think you are? I'm like, oh my God, like, ew, you're such a loser. Like, you think you're going to be that cool? Like, and it was devastating, quite honestly. It created wounds around my power, around my dreams, around what I wanted to do with my life, around success. Oh, if I'm successful, then I'm going to be abandoned. No one's going to like me. I'm going to be rejected. If I follow my dreams, well, my dreams are stupid. You know, I won't have any friends. It was the ultimate witch wound. Like, okay, I shared myself. I shared my truth. I shared something that I care about, that I value, that's important to me. That makes me not safe. And so it was being in my power. It was being in my dreams. It was being in my knowing of myself that all of a sudden that equaled danger. And that's the classic witch experience. And so I also had a very alive sexual energy as like a very young kid. I just been a Magdalene priestess my whole life. Like, I can't help it. I'm sorry, you know. Sorry, I'm not sorry at all now, thank goddess. But but everything about me and my energy and the way that I operated and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to play and what I wanted to feel and how I wanted to experience life was just not acceptable at all. And so that's how I really operated for a long time. It was like my sexual energy was scary or too much. Even like, you know, I'd like make out with a senior boy and he'd like tell all the guys, you know, afterwards, like how fucking crazy or what, you know, like it's like we just kissed, but my energy was so powerful. They just couldn't handle it. Like, there were so many different iterations of I'm too much or I'm not enough, and no one can handle me, and no one can tolerate me, and no one can meet me. And so, yeah, I spent many years from like basically starting in middle school when I left and went to public school at like 11 years old through high school and into college. And then finally when I like graduated from college and I broke up with my college boyfriend who I like moved to LA with, and he was like this big model and he was so perfect and flawless on the outside and so broken on the inside. And we've since become really good friends, and like he's amazing, and you know, it was a decade ago that we dated, and like it's fine. And we love each other so much, but he was in such deep trauma. We were so toxic. When I broke up with him after we'd left New York and moved to LA, that's when it was really like, oh shit, the dragon's out of the cage. And I was angry, and I felt so betrayed by myself. I was so sick of how much I had let the witch wound inform my entire reality, the way that I functioned in relationships, the way that I functioned in school, the way that I believed in myself, the way that I spoke about myself, the way that I wasn't striving for anything. I wasn't working towards my dreams anymore because I believed that they were not safe. And so that was really when my spiritual journey deeply began, like my very early 20s, 21, 22. And it was like, you know, I would like smoke weed and be like, what is time? Like, what is the passage of time? You know, it was like big questions. What is God? What are we talking about here? And
Yeah.
even I don't want to call her weed. Now I speak to her as Santa Maria. She's like such an amazing plant ally used in the right circumstances. And I really started asking questions, and it was like a wild animal had been freed from a prison, and it was a self-inflicted prison. And that was part of the reason why it was
Yeah.
so hard, is because it's like, no one put me in here. I
Yeah.
climbed myself in here and locked the door. And
Yeah.
so that was really the big moment where then I started, it was like, I will try everything. I will do any spiritual modality. I will do any healing session. I will talk to anyone who might be able to help me. I just said yes to everything. And so I tried it all. I did ayahuasca and 5-MeO-DMT and mushrooms and crystal healing and Reiki and NLP and tapping and like everything I could get my hands on. Spent every dollar in my bank account like over and over. I was living just paycheck to paycheck. Like every dollar would go back to healing. Let me pay my rent and for my car and eat, and then healing and healing and healing. And I was at zero constantly. But it paid off. And eventually what happened is that my spirituality became fortified enough and strong enough to support me in the way that I functioned in my life. I believed in magic. I had seen miracles occur through staying devoted and committed and saying, I don't care if I spend every dollar I have, I know that more will come. And then I would have these amazing miracles where the fact that I'd been willing to believe in myself and willing to invest in myself, there would be a massive payback in a good way. And then what happened with the witch hat was that I went to Burning Man and I met this amazing girl who was wearing a witch hat, and I was having all these like past life memories following her through the crowd. She was really short, but she'd have the witch hat on and I could track her. And we did a photo shoot with the hat. And those were my first photos that ever went viral. I'd been stuck at like 6,000 followers for like 2.5 years. Like nothing was changing. And the photos went viral, and it was such a powerful representation of how much it meant to everyone else. This iconic symbol of evil, and she's pretty and she's smart and she's nice and she's trying to help me heal and she is encouraging me to believe in magic. I resonate with that. I don't want that thing to be evil anymore. And so then I would like go back to just posting my regular photos. And it's like before reels and videos is my favorite medium, because it's easiest for me. So this was when it was just photos and just writing. And my photos that didn't have the witch hat in it just got nothing. It was like the same old shit. It's like 150 likes, witch hat, 2,500, 10,000 likes, whatever it was. And it was completely transformative. And I realized like, okay, this is what people want, not because it's like what they want from me, but it's because it's what they want for themselves. And the goddess chose me. She was like, you're wearing this hat. You're doing this mission. Like, I need you to carry this movement. And I was like, okay, girl, like I'm here for you. You got it. And
message received.
It's been a pretty wild ride ever since. Yeah.
I love so much of what you just said. It resonates so much. So that needing to forgive yourself for how you acted when you were in the throes of the witch wound and what I call the forgetting is such an important piece of the puzzle. I hit this rock bottom moment personally where I was in an abusive relationship. I was sick. I was letting myself be treated like absolute shit. And the very first part of healing the witch wound is forgiving yourself for all of the times that you played along with the wound. And what I like to say is that there doesn't have to be a modern day inquisitor anymore because we've internalized the inquisitor.
Completely.
We're policing ourselves. We're judging ourselves. We're worried about what everyone else will think. And the other part of your story, I mean, so much of your story struck me in different ways. But one thing that really stuck out to me too was just this image of baby Mia on a stage sharing her heart and being met with complete ugliness and honestly pure evil and probably jealousy of the people who wanted to express their heart and felt like they couldn't. And I always say that people who are here to heal the witch wound incarnate into the exact circumstances they need to do that. And everybody comes in awake, connected to magic, excited, and that's what I call the wild witchling of childhood. And then they go through the forgetting. And our job isn't to change everyone around us. It's to maintain our light and authentic frequency no matter what everyone is doing around us, and learning to foster and be a steward of that light so that we can help other people do that. And I feel like your story was just such a perfect description of that process, and so powerful. And I love the symbol of the witch hat. And I remember on one of your reels, you were saying something like, oh, I don't get a lot of hate. Like, I don't get a lot of people on my comments saying, oh, you're going to hell or whatever. And I wrote, yeah. And I wrote in your comments, I was like, that's because you've healed the witch wound. When you heal the witch wound, you attract your soul family. When you need to heal the witch wound, you attract your oppressor. And so I feel like you're just this beacon of witchy energy that gives people permission to shine their brightest too. And so going back to your Taurus rising, your connection to the land and the magic of the land, I'm wondering, so you have so many magical retreats in different locations all around the world, and it makes my Sagittarius moon and Mercury and Venus really happy, all the travel. And I'm wondering how you pick the right places, if you feel called intuitively to different landscapes for different healings and different reasons. And do you feel like different lands unlock different past life connections for you, different brands of your magic? There's just such a deep connection with you to the land and what I call soul locations. And I'm wondering how that shows up for you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the cards in my oracle deck that's coming out. I have just let the goddess guide me. I didn't feel called to do the same old kind of retreats as everybody does. Costa Rica, Mexico, blessed, like cool, amazing. I've been to those places a bunch of times. It's a vibe. I'm in Hawaii right now. I love tropical shit. I'm available for that, but I am so unique. My business is so unique. Everything that I do is so unique and such an anomaly in a lot of ways that I was like, I'm not doing the same thing as everybody else. So I just saw the picture. I saw one picture of the castle in Scotland from high up, and I was like, that's the one. And then I looked through the pictures and saw how the aesthetic was just exactly how I would decorate something if I had that level of good taste. Like, I'm not that good at it, but like wallpapers with velvets and textures and colors and all antique furniture, but then with like modern touches. It was just iconic. And when I got to the land in Scotland, and my retreats are my favorite thing to do. Like, that's why we're going to France and having this whole Cinderella, like it's a full next level palace experience. It's so powerful to do the work in person. And I think that the land has guided me so deeply in the way that we're doing what we're doing. Like, things will arise and come up, and the itinerary or the rituals will change because of what the land wants. And that's so beautiful. So when I saw the castle in Scotland, I'd never been to Scotland. I just was like, gotta go. Loved Outlander, when they were in Scotland. I don't watch it now that they're in America, but I was so into it. And I just knew, like, okay, I've never been there. I want to go. Booked the castle, had amazing conversations. There were so many synchronicities. She's like, oh, I love to just pick the magic mushrooms from the cow field and eat them and walk through our enchanted woodlands. And I was like, and y'all are my people. Like, okay, she's not just like an uppity British lady. She's like taking mushrooms in her own backyard and hanging out in the forest, like talking to trees. This is exactly who I want to be the host.
Amazing.
Of my life, right?
Yeah.
So I set foot in Scotland, and that land, I was just telling some friends last night, I've never had anywhere except my own homeland of the Redwood Forest talk to me so viscerally, so openly. It was like the land had a tour guide for me. It was like, hello, please come down here. Talk to the unicorns here. Talk to the fairies here. We're going to do a dragon activation up here. Like, it was like the land gave me an elemental tour guide. I can explain it no better way. That was just it. Places like Crete, like my personal soul homes, Greece. I've been to Greece probably like 7 times now, and I always leave a different person. I've never found like a castle or a retreat center that is exactly the level that I want in Crete. But for me personally, I've never experienced such profound priestess initiations, more so than even like I did a month in Egypt and then I did a week in Crete, and my experience in Crete was exponentially more powerful.
Wow.
And so, yes, absolutely. I think, that's kind of like that genius loci, the Roman term for the spirit of place. And I absolutely feel that. I think places have different spirits for us. That's why I needed to do the retreat in Scotland 3 times. I couldn't give it up. It was just too good. And then what happened for us to do this retreat in France is that my team knew that I was ready to move on and find a different place. And I didn't really have the time or space to do it. And they, like, not behind my back, but like without me even knowing, without me having to effort, they know what I want, they know what I need, they know what I'm looking for, they know the standard. And they found the castle that we're doing the France retreat in that is exponentially more magical and opulent and magnificent than even the castle that we had in Scotland, still with private water and woodlands and like a beautiful multi tens of acres estate.
Wow.
And so they just presented it to me and they were like, hey, we found the new castle. And I was like, oh. And so I didn't actually even make any choices on that, but I did spend time in France last year for a Mary Magdalene pilgrimage. And so I have reconnected, and the year before with my partner for all the Christmas markets. And I'd never been outside of Paris. I've been to Paris several times, but I'd never been anywhere else in France. And so I think that also, you know, you can go to those places and have these little inclinations or little like dip points in where something will happen that the land is like, well, I want you to come down here to me. I want you to, you know, don't just stay in Paris, like come to the Pyrenees foothills and now come to the Loire Valley where the royalty used to respite and escape, you know? And so absolutely I have, you know, Sedona is one of those places for me where I just get taken care of so profoundly. The miracles abound every time. Yeah, I love to travel. Honestly, like sub-Saharan East Africa is one of those places for me. Kenya, Ethiopia, Tanzania, like those are three of my favorite countries on the whole planet. Australia and New Zealand, you know, are places like that for me that have given me so many gifts that just hold me so profoundly whenever I go. So absolutely, that has been such an important part of my own experience. And I feel like the castles, because people loved Outlander so much, you know, Scotland really had that beautiful elemental energy of ancient Celtic druid earth magic and wisdom. And France has this, I mean, it is the center of opulent luxury besides maybe like the Ottoman Empire back in the day. But now, like what France is just, it's the creme de la creme, shall we say. And so, yeah, so I'm so excited to be there and to see who the women and people are that feel called to that space because of, you know, Cinderella and Be Our Guest and Beauty and the Beast and all of these like tales that we have from France that give us, that give us hope in what's possible in our own fairy tales. Like, you know, I watched Cinderella recently when we booked the castle, and I forgot that the song goes, no matter how your heart is grieving, if you keep on believing, a dream that you wish will come true. And I was just so touched by that. And so that's exactly the kind of energy that we want to call forward in this France retreat. Is like, doesn't matter what kind of pain you're experiencing, you can make your dreams come true. And I believe that. And I have definitely experienced that in my own life. So I really let the lands follow, or I follow them, and I let them lead me and guide me. And I just listen. And I hadn't seen anything of this castle before they basically booked it. The only thing that was left was like sign on the dotted line and pay the check. And and as soon as I saw it, I was like, yes. So
you get the full body yes, and you just follow it. And it kind of shows that it doesn't have to be hard. It's not like you have to feel into it in this intense way. You're being led. And I love the idea that you just presented of each space, each land having its own spirit guides ready to welcome you. And I love the idea of Crete not having the retreat center you want, because it's just meant for you. It's your personal medicine. And then the castle in Scotland, there had to be 3 years because there were 3 groups of people who needed that energy and that guide. And now you can move on to the people that need France's energy and guide, and everybody's own guides and energy alchemize with the land differently. And you are this like shapeshifter energy, Gemini energy that can dance around all of them and show up as the version of self you need to be in co-creation with that land. So I absolutely love that. And in the idea of being a witch, so many people, and I say this without judgment, I say this purely with love as an observation. So many people focus on magic and spirituality only for what can it get me? What material things can it get me? What can I manifest? But an essential part of being a witch is service to the less fortunate, being a steward of the earth, and being a voice against oppression and harmful systems. And so I think that piece of the puzzle of service can get lost so much, and it can leave a bad taste in the mouth of people who aren't quite finding their brand of spirituality that resonates with them. And I know in particular, you are a warrior and a steward for Mother Earth. And I'm wondering, for our listeners who also want to stick up for the earth and be more sustainable or just lean into that side of the witchiness, do you have any tips that they could lean into with that?
Oh my gosh, so many things. So easy ones. You know, I always pee outside because I don't want to toxify the water. Like I want to keep the waters clear. Like always.
I
like
love
staying
that.
in Hawaii, I've got like at my friend's house, and there's all these like dudes around. I'm just like dipping behind a bush. Like always keep the waters clear as much as you possibly can, because the waters are the element of our emotions, of our creativity, of our sexuality. And we know how all of those things have been treated. They've been poisoned, they've been toxified, they've been shamed, they've been made wrong. When we have to filter all this water and say, you're bad, you're wrong, there's something wrong with you, you're dirty, you have to be piped through this and filtered through that and added chemicals to. It's the same thing that we say and do to our emotions, our sexuality, and our creativity. No, you can't be an artist. That's not a good idea. Oh, your sex, you know, being sexy is shameful, or like you're going to get what you deserve, or all of that bullshit. And so I try to be really mindful of my water usage. People used to bathe like once a month, you know, once a week, maybe, if you were lucky, and you would share the bath water with all 5 members of your family, you know? So like, I think that some of the, I have to take a shower every day, I have to wash my hair every day, I think that some of that comes from like a wound, usually like a mother wound, or something around vanity, something around you have to be presenting yourself in a certain way. Oh, you smell bad. Like, you know, it's just, there's a lot of different things, different programs that we all receive and experience from our childhood that look different and obviously manifest differently. But I love what you said, you know, about service and manifestation. To me, the greatest manifestation tool is healing. The best thing you can do to make anything happen in your life is healing your wounds. Now, not only does that, it has a really win-win situation, because it will allow you to manifest what you want, but it will also be of service to the collective witch wound and to the collective trauma and to the collective consciousness. So when you are doing the healing work on yourself and being of service to your highest self, not just like, oh, what can I do that will serve me right now? It's like, what can I do to serve my evolution? That's going to be in service to the earth. So other little sustainable things, composting. You don't need to have a specific compost thing. You can use there's so many services where people will trade you for something, or they'll just come pick up your compost because they need it to fertilize some beautiful big garden. It's better to just throw your organic food waste out into like a garden bed or anywhere in nature than it is to throw it into the trash because of the methane. I know that it doesn't seem like a lot, and we're like, oh, but all the systemic things and the private jets and like all of that. Yes, but if all 8 billion of us use that excuse, we're fucked. And if all 8 billion of us say, I'm going to do my best and I'm going to play the best part that I possibly can, we do make a big difference. And so composting is a really big one. Super easy, super simple. For me, I also only buy clothes secondhand. If I buy anything, like these particular earrings were handmade by a woman who I met. I shook her hand. I talked to her about them. I loved them. I bought them from her. It was a beautiful experience. So all my clothes, everything else is secondhand. And then if I buy new things, I do support local artisan or crafts people. And I love doing that because they're making something that they put their heart and soul into, and it feels really good. But even like my restoration hardware cloud couches, I buy on Facebook Marketplace, and I get everything that I can secondhand because it matters to me and because I like that communication to the earth. And so having abundance, you know, I think a lot of people, we fill these needs. We like have this consumerism and this like consumptive energy, and we buy all this shit from Amazon. That is scarcity. filling your house with plastic that is made by child slaves in China and third world countries is actually scarcity. It does not represent abundance. And so when you are really mindful of making sure that what's filling your home is really aligned with your values and is really supportive of the earth and is really making the kinds of positive ripple of frequency and energy. Like for me, of course, like cloud couches are like $25,000, $40,000. I don't pay that much for them when I get them secondhand. I'll tell you what, And so even though I'm like getting a savings, it makes me feel abundant because I know that I'm doing the better thing for the planet and for the goddess. And so those are some really easy, simple ones. Yeah, like shopping secondhand, even like things like I got this water bottle on Poshmark, it's a $50 hydro flask that I got for $20 because like I could find it used, And so shopping secondhand, peeing outside, composting your food, those are 3 super simple, very easy things that you can make the shift in your habits like instantly. And they make a huge difference. They make a huge, huge difference. I feel so much more abundant knowing that the choices that I make are in service to her and that she appreciates me making those choices. Like I've got like my Prada bag here. I got it secondhand. I'm looking at these like antique pearls that I have that I got at a beautiful thrift shop. Like it also then things have a story and they have like a more vibrant and alive energy rather than just like people like vegans and vegetarians who, don't, which I was vegetarian for 12 years, but I love vintage fur because if that poor sweet animal was going to be tortured to become a coat, like let me enjoy the fact that that happened in 1968. And some lady named Shelby wore this coat for so long and has it all embroidered in here with her name. And now I get to give it another 20 years of life. Like what a blessing. I love that. And so those are 3 really, really simple: compost, pee outside, buy secondhand, that will make a huge difference in the energy of how you experience life in reality and also for the planet.
I love that so much because scarcity consciousness is like the opposite frequency of abundance, and just filling your house up to have stuff, to fill up, to have more. Consumerism is from such a scarcity place instead of having fewer things of better quality that are sustainable, that are eco-friendly. And I'm also really struck by the idea of showering and taking baths a lot being connected to a wound. And as you were talking about that, I got this feeling that for some people, that's their only time where they're not consuming things on their screen, talking to people, being asked things, and they might go into the shower or the bath to just be alone. It's a time where you are just naked by yourself and can think and can connect and can ground. And for some people, they have no avenue in their life except under running water for that. And water is so healing, but it's not necessarily, especially in California with our history of droughts, it's not the sustainable way. And so this isn't to shame anybody if you take showers every day, but at least just get conscious and see, what is it? Is it about being clean, or is it about something else that time services for you? So that's really interesting.
I never even thought about it like that it could just be their only alone time, their only quiet time.
Yeah.
Because I take so much alone, quiet time in my life. I could not have even imagined that. So that's also a good reframe for me, like, yes, it can come from a wound, but it also can be like a necessary respite and escape from all of the pressures of life.
Yeah, which can stem from a wounded place too.
Of course,
not feeling like you can create boundaries outside of literally being naked in the shower. So I want to shift the conversation to abundance, to money magic. And I want to start with, I don't really get this a lot, but I know some people in the magical space when they're starting out can get this narrative of you shouldn't be charging money for your spiritual gifts. You should be offering this as a service to everyone, and it's not okay to charge XYZ for spiritual gifts. And I was wondering if you would just speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things about that. One, I think it is a great idea to offer your spiritual gifts for free in the beginning. Like, see what works, see what people like, see what resonates, see how your gifts manifest. I did that for a long time and it was amazing. And the second thing is the people who are telling you that you shouldn't be charging for your spiritual gifts are jealous that you're willing to seek a life of fulfillment where you are offering your light and your magic and your power and your gifts and your purpose rather than selling your soul for money. They have not had the courage to change that for themselves, and they wish that they could. And it is a really brave path to take. It is really hard, and it is something that even just, a few hundred years ago would have gotten you killed. So it takes a massive amount of courage to do it. And that's why those people don't, is because they're afraid. And that's okay. Bless them, not to shame anyone, but that's the reason why they would tell you that. Because in every major ancient civilization, the healers, the priestesses, the medicine men and women were all taken care of. You were given a beautiful teepee or hut or temple was built for you. People came and thanked you voraciously. They gave you every type of resource that they could, whether it's chickens or goats or bread or fabric or whatever they could give you, they would give it to you to express their thanks and gratitude for your guidance, for your wisdom, for your insight. Last time I checked, I wasn't able to pay my rent with chickens these days, And so, unfortunately, that's not the way that things work anymore. Our consciousness has designed a system that is an oppressive system that puts some of us above others of us. We are living in a capitalist system. And guess what? The great thing about capitalism is it is accessible to everyone. I used to be a broke ass witch and I'm not anymore because I learned how to operate in the capitalistic system in a way that gives me the opportunity to share my gifts, to do the things that I am so good at. I am one of the most masterful coaches on the entire planet. I am so fucking good at what I do. It is insane. I do not feel uncomfortable charging what I charge now because I watch how I help people change, and I will never stop giving things for free. I will never stop posting and making videos because I love doing it. And there are hundreds of people, thousands of people that send me messages saying just these free things that you offer on YouTube or Instagram have changed my life. I follow them religiously. I listen intently. I integrate the wisdom that you're sharing and it changes me. And so I don't feel bad about charging because I know that it works. And I know that when I have invested in myself, which I have countless times, as I said before, over and over, the last dollar in my bank account, every time I did that, and this is a big piece for spiritual people and for people wanting to manifest money, because a lot of the times, I'm noticing, we have a scholarship fund for the retreat in France, and I'm noticing a lot of people and how they're expressing their relationship to money and the wounds that they have. One of the problems is that the money system strives to convince us that if we spend here, then there is no more money for over here. If we spend X, Y does not exist or cannot happen. So when you look at the quantum nature of money and of reality, this is a holographic reality. So there isn't anyone else here. You're the only one here. No one else exists. It's all one. It's all your consciousness. And so when I chose to invest in something, whether it was a program or a retreat or a coach, that thing that I'm investing in is just a reflection of me. It's just a mirror. And so if I'm paying this thing outside of myself, what I'm actually doing is paying myself. And by giving that investment, I am saying I am worth this. Oh, this $10,000, this $100,000, this $100. Doesn't matter what it is. You're saying I am worth this. The same as when you pay your bills every month. You're like, thanks for the electricity. Here's $111. I was able to use my phone and charge my whatever and turn my lights on. And I'm like, what else do we use electricity for? I'm one of those candles and salt lamps only at night, but I wouldn't be able to have my salt lamps on without electricity, And so when we can shift our mindset, that's the biggest problem, is that the money system and the capitalist system has convinced us certain things about money that are actually not true based on the quantum nature of reality. So debt, we get so afraid of debt. For me, I have used debt to my advantage so many times. Oh, I don't have enough money to pay for this yoga teacher certification. I don't have enough money to pay for this coach that I want to hire that I know is going to change my life. Cool, I'm going to put it on a credit card. And wow, that $10,000 worth of debt or $50,000 worth of debt, that got me where I wanted to go. That gave me the opportunity to learn these things, to receive this wisdom, to amplify my own gifts in whatever way. And not only do I get the benefit of expressing appreciation for myself and my own value by spending the money, but I also transform just by crossing the threshold of being willing to do it. When I say like, okay, I'm so afraid I don't have this money, but I'm going to spend this $100,000, $10,000, $100,000, just by making that choice, we change. Then by the nature of the fact that we're telling ourselves that we're worthy of that money, we change. Then the actual work that we're investing in, or whatever the thing is that we're spending the money on, is going to change us. Yeah. And that's how it works. And it does work. And so, it's so interesting. I'm seeing all of these, retreat scholarship applications and all these people being like, if I don't get this scholarship, I will absolutely not be able to go, because I'm afraid that because I have to keep this money for a rainy day fund. And I'm like, if you are holding on to your money, if you are hoarding your money for a rainy day, the problem is rainy days are going to keep on coming. They're just going to keep coming over and over. And your rainy day fund is going to have to be spent on a rainy day again and again and again. Guess how I know that? Because that's what I used to do. And I was so cheap and I was so worried about my rainy day fund. And the day that my rainy day fund ran out, I actually spent the last $328 of my ultimate last ditch effort savings account on a speeding ticket while I was in yoga teacher training. So I'd spent almost the last of my money. I had $500 left, and then I had to eat and pay for gas, and all of a sudden I got a speeding ticket, and I emptied that final savings account to pay for this speeding ticket. And that's when I started really making money.
Wow.
When the rainy day fund actually ran out and I had nothing left, nothing to lean back on, no plan B, no safety net. That's when everything changed for me, because then I was like, well, I got nothing else to lose, and it became nothing else to lose became everything to gain.
Yeah, you built so much self-trust through that process as well. And circling back to what you said earlier about offering your services for free in the beginning, I couldn't agree more. I did the same thing when I was starting out. For one whole year, I said, anyone who wants a reading for free, come over. And something my guides say about charging for my services is, this isn't their words, it's mine, but translating the message is, girl, you have been killed so many times and hurt so many times for this work. This is your life to enjoy the abundance of your gifts. And so I love that message. And I also don't feel bad at all, because I know my worth and I know my quality. And there is such a connection. I mean, Venus in astrology is the planet of self-worth and the planet of money. So they go together. There's such a tie between the witch wound and abundance and money. And I've seen it manifest in so many different ways. One of the ways is believing that we need a man to provide for us or to feel safe financially. Another way is that we've been left out of the conversation when it comes to money. And historically, women couldn't have bank accounts. As Claire brought up in a different episode, it was the Equal Credit Opportunity Act in 1974 that allowed women to open bank accounts and have credit cards. So only 1974. And I myself personally, as a woman, was never really educated about financial literacy or money. It was always very foggy to me. I felt very disempowered. And so many people talk badly about women's ability to have money or spend money or budget, when historically we've been left out of the conversation and we had to wear our wealth. There's a reason women love jewelry so much. Of course, I love jewelry, but we had to wear our wealth and ask for jewelry so that we could have anything of value, since we couldn't have our own bank account. And so to me, the witch wound encompasses anything that keeps a woman from her full power, mind, body, and soul. And money is our agency. It's our freedom. It's our power in this life. And for so many of us, it's this ineffable, foggy concept. I think we need to face head on and educate ourselves about the tactical part of it and the mystical part of it. And so I'm wondering, for you, working with so many people, healing money wounds, scarcity consciousness, witch wounds in this space, what have you noticed about that correlation?
Oh my God. I mean, How much more time do we have? So many
I know,
things.
we're getting there.
I think also because sexuality is the like water, we use so many water words like streams of income, liquid assets, right? Currency. We use so many water words to discuss money. And as we discussed earlier, water has been damaged, toxified, poisoned in our world. Our sexuality, our abundance, our waters, right? Our Amrita and our moon blood, and like all of these waters that flow out from our pussies, from our bodies in that way of sexuality, all wrong, bad, shameful. And so I think that there's so many different correlations. It's also because one of the ways that witch hunters, you know, what you call the inquisitor and the internalized inquisitor, I call the inner witch hunter. And one of the ways that people were, why they were accused of witchcraft is because they had resources. So if your husband died and left you a really verdant field and a bunch of livestock and a full well, they would just call you a witch so that they could take your resources from you and then like leave you either with nothing or kill you. And then like they would steal everything that you had. When you had power, right, which is like an abundance of energy, an abundance of connection, an abundance of friendships or whatever it is, that power, your sexual energy, all of it was part of what could endanger your life and deem you a witch and get you accused of witchcraft and just be killed outright for nothing. So I think that because we have equated money with power in our modern society, and power was something that would get you killed, and you could not speak out, you could not share your truth, you could not, you know, you weren't allowed to sing anything that wasn't a hymn to church. Like I'm in Hawaii, they outlawed hula because hula is a dance that tells stories of their mythology. They outlawed the Hawaiian language. They outlawed all of the First Nations of the Americas indigenous languages. There's a reason why all of Central and South America speaks Spanish, a European language, you know, is because all of that was wiped out and taken from us. And so being in your magic, being in your power, being the priestesses that were the nobility, that became dangerous. And so it was not safe to be, especially a woman in power or in her sexuality or in her abundance, because it just meant that people were going to come after you and take it from you. And so it's also just so deep. It's like epigenetically, intrinsically woven into the fabric of our consciousness that it's not safe for us to have money and abundance and resources. And so, you know, I think that that's also one of the things, like when you asked me about my witch wound, right? I had to work through those beliefs about, oh, success is actually going to get me abandoned and rejected. And I had to come up against all of a sudden, like I had these successful friends and like famous actors and all these people. And I'm like, shit, like I'm like a broke ass little hippie girl. Like, what am I doing? I have all these successful friends. And I realized like, oh my God, I don't believe it's safe to be successful. I got to reprogram this immediately or the opposite is going to happen. And because I'm not successful, I'm going to get left behind because I can't afford to go on the trips with my friends, or I can't say yes to like some fabulous, immediate, spontaneous, like cool retreat that everyone's going to go to. And so it became a very important part of my witch wound, that not just around money, but around my belief in myself and my power, feeling worthy of expressing myself. Like that's a big thing around people who want to share their spiritual gifts and want to build businesses where your gifts are the thing that generate income for you. It's not just about the money wounds. It's about the truth. It's about the expression. It's about the safety in honoring that transmission and what's going to come through you. And it's all, again, it's all tied into the water element and to our creativity and how we rebirth ourselves. Like how we allow ourselves to be born in every moment and crossing through those thresholds of those bigger choices that we make, and our willingness to meet edges and fears and dive into that scorpionic underworld. And so, yeah, it's been such an interesting journey for me. And I just find that the biggest thing is taking responsibility. When you continue to play the victim to money, oh, well, it's because of the patriarchy. Oh, it's because I'm disempowered. Like that all may be true. And that doesn't mean you're stuck there. And you are not a victim to that. And you can choose differently, and you can change that, and you can work through it, and you can meet the edges, and you can start to choose differently than your ancestors did. And if you want to be a good descendant and like stick to the status quo from your ancestors, you could do that. You go right ahead. You stay as small as your grandmother wanted you to stay. But if you want to be a good ancestor to the generations who are coming, you got to make different choices. And it's hard.
Ooh.
It sucks. It's not easy. It's uncomfortable. People are going to judge you and have things to say about what you're doing. Fuck them. God bless them, but fuck them, This is about us choosing what kind of world we want to live in and making the decisions, even the word decision, side, decide, homicide, genocide, C-Day is about killing. To decide, you kill off the other version of yourself. You kill the side of you that is not willing to be in service to that next level, that reborn higher self iteration of who you want to be. And so you decide consciously to choose differently than your ancestors did in order to create a different world for the future generations to come. And the spiritual work is the hardest thing you'll ever do and the best choice you'll ever make. It's the most worth it.
That line about being a good ancestor for your future generations gave me full body chills. That was preach. That was amazing. I also love the connection with all of the water words and money, because I feel like the medicine is hidden in that, where you want money to flow. You want to flow with money. You don't want to hoard it and hold on. You can't do that with water. It has to flow. You have to go with the currents. You have to let yourself float and surrender and stay afloat, quote unquote. So I love that connection, and the water element feels really connected to a natural pathway that nature is modeling for us for abundance. So we're getting towards the end of the interview, and I have so many other questions I want to ask you, but going through your workshop, which I got to take, which is the Money Magic workshop, which I loved, I really like the way that you laid it out, because and again, this is said with all love, no judgment, but in the magical world and witchy world, I see a lot of times spell work, ritual work being laid out almost as a recipe without the unique programming, intentions, correspondences that your heart asks for. And what I love about your workshop is that it's a framework for a ritual that then the participant fills out with their own magic. You're not and would you agree with me that those recipes, they don't fully resonate with me? Do they resonate with you?
No, girl.
Yeah.
I can't. And it's because no one's trauma, no one's programming is the same. So one of the things that I studied in terms of language is like, when you say the word education, when you say the word sex, like all of us are the first 5 words that we associate with that, they're going to be different. Some people's going to say school. Some people's going to say boring. Some people's going to say pleasure. Some people's going to say unsafe. Like everyone is going to have different associations. And so that's why I just don't. And also like anything that's too dogmatic, anything that's like this way is the only way, or, I just don't, I'm like, then it's not the way for me. I don't resonate with that, because I think that everyone needs, and people are like, can you write me a spell? I'm like, no, but I can teach you how to heal the thing that's in the way of you wanting whatever it is that you want the spell to give you, like, I think that's like a really big issue in the witchcraft. Like I read one of those like giant witchcraft Bibles back in the day. I can't remember which one it was, like by the famous guy that everyone's like, oh, and he's like telling you exactly how to cut your robe cloth and exactly how to make your this and that. And I'm just like, oh my God, bro. Like, no, this is not it. So those are not, I can't with all of that. That's why I want to teach people about how to find their own unique magic. Even what you said about the big 3, right? Yeah. Everyone's little tracks through what makes them who they are is different, and it's fun. It's better like that. We're all snowflakes,
Exactly.
One of the like metaphors I love about it is the mountain. It's like we're all climbing the mountain, but an eagle's going to fly to the top, and a mountain goat can scale cliffs that ain't nobody else going up. Right. And cats can like jump, 10, 12 massive feet up to get up there. And a human's going to take a trail, and a snake's going to slither, and a fish is going to stay down in the lake and never know that they're missing anything. And like, that's how we all are. And it's how it's supposed to be.
I couldn't agree more. I love that. And as you were talking, I just got this sentence in my head: is the magic is the way we move through the world. And in some ways we forget that we're actually living a super magical experience. We don't have to go find a recipe that someone typed out for spells to like create magic. We create magic by living joyfully, authentically, following our full body yeses, and just living is a spiritual experience. And we can forget that sometimes. We are on a rock floating in the sky in bodies right now. So don't let yourself get fooled into like capitalism and patriarchy trying to sell you magic, things that are bottled up and said they're magic. The true magic is in you. You're the only one that can create the magic, and guides like Mia can create frameworks for you so that you don't feel lost to do that. So I find that so, so beautiful. And the last thing I want to ask you is a little story time, if you feel comfortable sharing, of the way you've maybe done a spell in the past and the magic that has come about from it. Because I feel like so often we don't talk about the results of our magic. It's like all very secretive. And so, I have my own stories. Maybe I'll share another time, but I would love to know a story from you where there was either a manifestation ritual or a protection spell or anything like that, and the effect of it, if you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, it's funny because the one that like feels best to share about is all the rituals that I did to call in my partner.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did so many rituals to call in that man, and they were all so deeply linked to my inner masculine and what does it look like for me to be in my inner masculine. And I did so much sex magic, but this one particular ritual that I remember, I was at Burning Man with a bunch of my friends, and we were doing sex magic, which is like a group pleasure ritual. So yes, everyone's masturbating, but separately, but in the same space. Mm-hmm. And my friend Layla was in the back bedroom of the RV calling out to all of us as we're like in the living room of the RV, which was hilarious. And usually we do sex magic, and I teach sex magic, having received the transmission from her and her ancient Taoist tantric lineage. And generally you work up. You start with the root chakra and you work up the chakra system and send your manifestation up and out into the world. You let it like flow from your crown chakra down over you, and it cascades over you like a waterfall. Mm-hmm. In this particular practice, we all decided that we wanted to actually birth the manifestation into reality. Ooh. And so we started from our crowns and we worked down, and we like birthed this thing into existence. And this was on Tuesday of Burning Man in 2018. And I was like, doing my thing with all my friends, and it was so cute. And I birthed this man. Like I birthed through my cauldron, this man, this relationship, this experience. And I didn't meet him for a year after that. But when we met, he talked about this moment on Tuesday at Burning Man the year before, where he had been at a party and he could feel, he like looked up and around and he was like, someone is looking for me.
Oh, someone is
looking for me. Where are they? Like someone is trying to find me here. And he said he like climbed up on something and was like looking around to like make himself more visible, thinking that he could feel me. And because I had birthed like this love that I wanted into reality. And I have so many other amazing spells and things like, one time I went to Sedona I'd lost my entire wallet and then had fraudulent activity. And so my whole bank accounts had been frozen, and it was this crazy thing. And I was supposed to go to this retreat, and I had $150 in cash, and that was it. And I managed to live in Sedona for like 2.5 weeks and made it back with like $70 still, which like made no sense. And so I've had many miracles like that, where just the act of trust, just the act of, like I said, like believing that I am worth this thing, or I can take this leap of faith and the net will appear. I've had so many moments like that over and over again. And that's why I don't specifically do spell work. I focus on what needs to be healed in terms of my belief in myself, my belief of my worthiness, my belief in success. But yeah, that ritual with Bear, I'll just never forget when we talked about it. And then I also, another like further little piece about that is I crystal gridded my bed. I had a custom made bed that had cubbies underneath it, but not drawers. Like there was no front. And I had these cubbies made so that I could crystal grid the bed. And I crystal gridded the bed. And the first time that he walked into my room, I had all obelisks on the left side. And he walks into my room. He goes, "Oh, are those obelisks?" And I was like, "Yes." he's like, oh, I just had this like weird star seed reading with this person, and she told me the symbol was the obelisk. And I was like, cool, you know?
Yeah.
He was such an obelisk for me. He was this standing, rooted tree and mountain and you know, rock, as they say. And so yeah, those are just the ones that are coming through. And it's been a really interesting thing of like, I've been serving a lot of high impact women manifesting partnership, and some of those, like this one client that I'm working with right now, it's insane the synchronicities that are happening every session that we do. The synchronicities that are unfolding are just like unbelievable. And so I think that there is something really special about when we're willing to do the work that has hindered us from having the kind of relationship that we want, when we're willing to look at our disempowered masculine and the way our feminine is wounded and alchemize those things in order to call in partnership. To me, it's some of the greatest magic ever, because partnership is the ultimate spiritual dojo for our growth. So those are just the ones that are coming through.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it's so true. And I like what your perspective is that it doesn't have to just be this container of ritual. The ritual is the living in alignment. So I love that reiteration. And your story definitely gave me chills. And I hope that I know that it will motivate a lot of people out there and shift the way they think about magic. So thank you so much for joining us here today. Where can everybody find you? And I believe we have a code Magic Hour for your Money Magic course as well. Thank you for that. I hope everyone will learn from Mia. And yeah, so please take it away. Where can they find you?
Yes. So Mia Magik, MIAMAGIK, is all of my website, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. It's all under Mia Magik, MIAMAGIK. And so, yeah, we have France, the retreat coming up in France. If anyone wants to come to France, we have another retreat in the Redwoods in October. France is August 7th through 12th over Lionsgate. And yeah, that's my favorite way to work with people, is in person. You want to experience the rituals that actually change your life, instead of just like casting a little spell and hoping for the best. It's like, no, let's get the things out of the way that have been in the way. And so that's my absolute favorite gift and offering to share with people. And so we've got lots of amazing ways to experience the magic together. And my book IntuWitchin is out everywhere books are sold.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being with us, Mia. And we'll definitely have to have you back on some other time.
Bless. Thanks, Queens.
Thank you. Welcome to Sitting with Spirit, our weekly segment where I do just that, sit with spirit and give the messages that come through for the collective. If you're new to the podcast, please take what resonates and leave the rest. And if you know someone who could benefit from the message, please send the episode to them. And if you're new here, sometimes past loved ones come through as messengers for the collective. If you can take some of the evidence that they give, then that can be a postcard or a wink from your loved one in spirit. And sometimes spirits team up together to have evidence that will resonate with multiple people. So I wouldn't get too bogged down in the details. I would just go with whatever resonates with you. So that being said, when I sat with spirit and I tuned in today, the very first image that I saw was a flower coming into bloom. And the specific words were a process of blossoming. And while the flower is blossoming, it can feel like you're going to be in that phase forever, that you will never be full and bright and attracting what you want. And I feel like a lot of people are in the process of blossoming and of becoming. And we can't rush that process. We can't pull all the flower petals open. It doesn't work that way. And so there's something about trusting the process of blossoming and the valuable work and healing energy through the process of blossoming is where you're noticing scripts coming up mentally around scarcity consciousness, believing it will always be this way. And basically, so sometimes my messages come through feelings and I have to translate them into words. And the feeling here is the mental experience of the process of blossoming is completely different than the mental experience of when you're in bloom, and it will not be like this forever. But the exact tests and lessons and perception shifts that are coming up for your awareness right now are exactly what it takes. That is the process of blossoming. So that's where we can get stuck in this way, where we're wanting to blossom, but the process of blossoming is actually the healing work. And we think the healing work is evidence that we're not blossoming, that we're attracting the wrong things to ourselves. When in reality, what we're attracting is the next lesson we need for another petal to open. And so when we are in the blossoming phase, never lose faith of the vision that's in your heart. Hold on to that vision for yourself in full bloom and what that feels like and what you're calling in. And don't believe the stories that are fearful or scarcity consciousness based in the blooming, because that is the exact healing tonic that you need to blossom. So it's sort of paradoxical, but hold that vision of blooming, hold that vision of what you're calling in and attracting. Have faith in that and know that everything else coming up on the heart is here to help you achieve that and peel back another layer of what needs to go. And I feel that so deeply, you guys. You are blooming, you are blooming, you are blooming. Trust that. The process of blooming is scary. It's vulnerable. You're open in this way that's 1 foot in, 1 foot out, a little clunky, but you're blooming and you're doing it, and keep holding the vision of yourself fully open. So I also feel with this blooming energy that there's a message coming through tied to the solar plexus. And there's something here about stories of self, identity, life purpose, personal power, collective solar plexus, and throat chakra upgrades. And sometimes the throat chakra isn't just about speaking your truth and feeling comfortable being heard, but it's also about being so real with yourself and so honest with yourself and not denying anything. So there's honesty here coming up with yourself, not playing judge and jury over what your heart is saying. But the solar plexus chakra upgrades can sometimes translate as digestive issues and stomach problems. So if your stomach is getting your attention, listen to it. That is where the gut is. It's where the inner child is. And I just see a lot of upgrades around the Aries archetype of identity, self, personal power, how we go through what we want, all of those things. So we are in a moment of really, really powerful solar plexus chakra upgrades, and things might just not resonate for us the way they used to because we're not the same version of self. So if things feel like they're shifting and they're growing and you can't go backwards, but you're not quite ready to go forwards, or you don't know what that looks like, have faith in the timing. Keep peeling back the layers and really look at your identity, the stories you tell yourself about who you are, what's possible, all of that. I also saw owl coming through as an animal guide for the collective, and I love owls. They're so special. And owl is about connecting with your wisdom, trusting your intuition. As a nocturnal animal, owls often come in times where we feel a little lost or a little dark, or like we're not sure of the how or the where. And so owl is here to be your guide. They can turn their head almost all the way around, see from higher perspectives, and navigate you through the dark. And the eye of the storm there is your intuition and your wisdom. It's okay if you're clear on what your no is. You don't have to know what the yes that will fill the space is, but trust owl to zoom out, to detach from outcomes, and to lead you from a place of wisdom. And then I did have a really sweet grandmother presence stepping in with me while I was sitting in spirit or with spirit. And I don't know why I'm laughing, because she has a really deep message, but I just loved her energy and I love connecting with grandmothers. She is this spirit here that had a difficult marriage. She was born in a time where there wasn't real intimacy, where the husband was off on one side and she was with the kids on the other side, and there wasn't deep emotional intimacy. In fact, I even got that there was abuse in the marriage and with the grandfather partner. And she showed me that she loved flowers and gardening, and that she would make everything beautiful on the outside because the inside was so ugly and painful. And she showed me arranging these little flower pots and these little arrangements, and she did everything just so. And she was so sweet. It felt like she had 3 kids, and I felt like her husband definitely had his own issues and his own anger problems and perhaps even substance abuse. There was something really heavy with her husband. And she told me that she pushed everything down in her life, that she basically went on autopilot just to get through the day, just to be there for the kids. And her message here today is ancestral healing about what we believe in is possible in love and relationships. I see that the solar plexus is the first step of the puzzle for relationship healing. It's the Aries sensibility of getting clear on who we are, what we want, what our power is, so we can attract aligned relationships. And her message is, don't do what I did. Don't push it all down. Don't deny it all. Don't make things on the outside pretty when the inside isn't. You deserve more. And I feel like she's coming through as a guide for the collective. We are stepping into a moment where, as we are more empowered, what we accept and deserve in our partnerships changes and grows, and the yardstick changes collectively. And I feel like we're in this collective moment of the yardstick shifting when it comes to love and relationships and what is acceptable or what resonates with us at this time. And so she is saying that there's a rewiring of the ancestral script around what it means to be in a true partnership, what true intimacy and communication is, and that there was something with her family of affection never being modeled and that being passed down. And I get this feeling from her that she's saying, you know, life is too short not to be affectionate, not to have the love you deserve, and don't push things down and deny things. And we're breaking that cycle on a deep ancestral level. And what we expect from ourselves and our partners is expanding and growing as the collective consciousness expands and grows and heals. And this beautiful grandmother is here to give a different perspective. And there's something here too about her raising sons that internalize the same behavior and that continuing the legacy. And this being a generation for major cycle breaking in the family line. And no matter who you are, there wasn't as much access for our ancestors to mental health, to healing, to working on ourselves as we have now. So most people have a connection to ancestral healing in some form or another. And she's showing up saying that love is possible and you deserve it, and let the truth of that sit in your body in a way that doesn't feel like you're placating yourself, but in a way that feels very true. So I love you all so much. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your week. And remember that life's too short not to be magical, my loves.
Do you carry fear, shame, or shadow around the concepts of magic, intuition, or being powerful? Does the word witch make you uncomfortable? For generations, it has been ingrained into the collective that it is not safe to be seen, to be heard, to be powerful, or to be inconvenient. Join Taylor Paige for a 3-module, go at your own pace, Healing the Witch Wound workshop. Learn the history of the witch wound, identify the areas of your life this wound impacts, trace your own modern witch's journey timeline, and gain practical guidance to connect back to your unique magic as you follow the wheel of the year. Find all workshops at angelsandamethyst.com and use code 333 at checkout for $33 off. Your magic is waiting. Today we have our first winner of the angel reading giveaway.
I'm so excited to get to connect with you guys in an angel reading. So excited. I know whoever needs this will be the one to have it. I also just wanted to give a sincere thank you for the 5-star reviews. They are so sweet. They touch my heart and they just completely fill up my tank. And keeping this project going for as long as possible and seeing your feedback really makes that such a tangible, worthwhile thing.
Yes, absolutely. It's just such a gift to hear from you guys and know that the podcast is resonating with you. And so keep them coming, and we will do another giveaway when we hit 111 5-star reviews. So don't stop now. Keep coming. And I've written down everyone's name on a piece of paper. And now I'm going to pick one out of a hat. So let's see.
Yay!
Okay. Our first winner is Beth Kuhar Miller.
Yay! We will email you and connect with you. And for anybody who didn't win this time around, just know that each angel reading giveaway will include everyone from the full 111 reviews or however many in the future as a thank you for being an OG. So the sooner you find the podcast and give a 5-star review, the more 5-star giveaways you will be entered into.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And congratulations, Beth.
Yes, much love, hummingbirds.
For more information on Taylor and her work, go to angelsandamethyst.com or connect with her on Instagram at angels_and_amethyst. She is the one verified account with this name and will never DM you for a reading. If you have any questions about intuition, spirituality, angels, or anything and everything magical, please email contact@magichourpod.com. We will answer listener questions once a month in our solo episodes. Are you an aligned business owner that would like to advertise to our beautiful hummingbird community? Please email contact@magichourpod.com. Make sure you're subscribing to Magic Hour so you never miss the magic. And don't forget to leave us 5 sparkling star reviews. They help more magical people find the pod. Please screenshot and email your 5-star reviews to contact@magichourpod.com, and we will send you a free downloadable angelic meditation and enter you to win an angel reading with Taylor Paige. The next giveaway will happen when we hit 111 5-star reviews.
Thank you for listening to Magic Hour with Taylor Paige. Remember, you are magic.